Hi, I'm Marcus. Welcome to Learn with Graveloholic. Today I'm joined by Johan and Magnus from Bravur watches. And here are some of the things that we will be talking about today.
We thought first that the email we got was maybe like a scam or something. If Education Easy was emailing us about this, yeah, it was really cool actually.
In the end, it's how you drive sales, is to be visible. And if you don't have anything interesting to share and communicate, then you won't get any.
Now let's get that interview going. Hi guys, how are you doing today?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, all great. Enjoying the Swedish autumn.
Exactly. I can watch through my window here, and I have a window right here as well. There's basically no leaves left on the tree, so it's really autumn here now.
Yeah, at least the snow.
But I heard there was some huge downpour, and even when I drove past you, where you are right now in the southern parts of Sweden, there was a lot of snow there even,
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, it was kind of a surprise yesterday morning when I woke up. The kids got excited. It was all white outside, but yeah, to be honest, I was not super excited myself. I think it could have waited a few more weeks, but that's how life is in Sweden, I guess.
Yeah, it is, and
It
the
is.
snow has ruined the cycling possibilities a bit.
Yeah.
But it's
I was just going to ask you, how do you feel about this in regards to cycling where the snow is coming?
Yeah. I mean,
personally, I hate it. I
Yeah.
mean, there are. I mean, when you get a pretty much snow, which is pretty rare, and it's actually cold, and it's a clear and sunny, nice day, and the roads are like packed, so you get a good grip. It's not very icy and so on. Then it can be nice once in a while, but it never. I mean, it's very rare that you get those. What do you say? Circumstances.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's usually more like wet and muddy and dirt, and yeah, it is what it is.
Exactly.
So that brings me to my first question: what kind of bikes do you guys ride, and why do you prefer one of those? Because I'm pretty sure that you have more than one, both of you, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, I have the full Monty, I would say. So, I mean, I mainly ride road bikes, and I prefer that if I have the option. But of course, I also have a gravel bike, which I spend a lot of time on, and also a mountain bike. So I use the mountain bike mainly during winter season to, for instance, like the conditions we have today when it's more muddy and there are some snow, then it's perfect with really wide tires. But yeah, I would say you get different things out of road compared to gravel and mountain biking, and also that you can really go out really every season of the year. I would say that is the main motivation for having several bikes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I only focus on road, mainly road riding and a bit gravel as well. No mountain biking, even though that was that's my background originally. Actually, I was
Okay.
only riding mountain bike. I mean, it's like 30 years ago now, or not? Yeah, but nowadays I only do road riding and gravel riding. So that's my.
Cool. If I might add my thought on this, there's so many people that around here at least that I cycle with. They're like, "Oh, now it's winter season, so now we take the gravel bike and we go on the gravel roads." And I'm like, "You should do it the other way around." I'm like, "Summertime when it's dry, that's when you go on the on the gravel, and then in wintertime, like now,
Yeah.
to get less dirty, I stay on the tarmac."
I totally agree, actually, but it's easy to have that mindset. I totally agree. A lot of people think like that, but I totally agree. On the summer, it's fantastic with the gravel. It's a bit dusty, hard packed, fast roads. It's super nice. But as you say, in the wintertime, I mean, the roads get quite soft and it's dirty and yeah. So I totally agree.
Yeah, but I'm going to segue now to, and that's actually a touching point that you said, Magnus, that you were a mountain biker from the beginning, right? And now I'm going to segue over to you, Johan, because you also used to be a mountain biker. But that brings us back to our history together. We know each other from way back when. Do you mind telling that story?
Yeah, sure. Well, we are both from like the forest in south of Sweden. So you and me, we went to the same class in high school, I guess you say. So we went
Yeah.
together for 3 years. and had a really good time back then. But it was like 25 years ago. But yeah, that is our our history together. And then we didn't really have that much contact for quite a few years. But in the last 3-4 years, we found each other again through cycling. So yeah, I've been cycling as long as Magnus, so like 30 years with mountain biking. And yeah, that's actually the reason.
Yeah, that we know each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, back then we were more competitors, but eventually. But it was really a nice surprise when I found out that you were also addicted to cycling. So yeah, hope you will continue with that for rest of your life.
I mean, yeah, I don't think that I've found anything similar in life that helps me so much, both with my mental well-being and with my sort of general well-being. So, and I think for me, cycling, it has connected with me so many great individuals just for these last couple of years. It's just an astonishing community and so welcoming and so yeah. I'm so grateful to meet so much people, just like you guys. And now I knew you from the past, Johan, but now we reconnected due to this. So it's a blessing, to be honest. And I think, and I really hope that more people will enjoy this for the coming years, and even that we can grow the public just by talking in this conversation, for example. But so you met through cycling, but what made you guys start a business together then? What was that journey like? How did that come to be?
Well, as Johan mentioned, we were competing against each other in mountain biking. We did that for quite a lot of like many years. Eventually, I believe you stopped racing first, and I stopped racing. We didn't see each other for many years, and eventually we ended up in the same class in university. So that's when we started our friendship, basically, and we got to know each other on another level, so to speak, and not through. We didn't. Yeah, we actually did some riding as well back then.
But I think we found out that we had quite similar background. We are from different small villages, you could say, in the southern part of Sweden. So like 50 kilometers in between. So we were really like rivals, competing for different cycling clubs. But when we left that behind, we found out that we had really similar interests, similar background, also similar ambitions for the future, I would say.
Yeah.
So also during university time, we started our first consultancy company. And that is basically where we started our business together. Of course, it was not within watches back then, but that was the start of both the friendship and the cooperation in the business.
Yeah, and for many years we discussed doing something together, creating our own brand, creating our own products. So it was a process that's started pretty earlier, and then eventually we started our business together and our own brand.
That is so interesting. So I have a similar experience with my best friend that I had during university. I also started a company with him, and we ran that for like 5 years together or so. And one of the key things that I learned about myself during that journey was how important it is to have someone that complements you, and that not someone that can challenge you, that can do sort of opposite things of what you can do. You need to have some similarities, but you still need to have that sort of companion that can challenge you. And that was a tough insight for me, because I thought that everyone should be just like me. But that's a different story. But how do you guys sort of work together? How that dynamic in between you guys? How can you? How does that look like?
Well,
who does what?
I would say that we are pretty similar in many ways. Like we are kind of very product focused, both of us, and really picky about details, quite hard on ourselves, which is a good thing, but it also makes like the process quite long. But I say we have a really good like combination with skills that makes it possible to, like, for instance, you start pitching an idea, and I give some feedback. We rework it, and in the end, it ends up in something totally different. That if only one of us would have worked with this idea, it would turn out totally different. So, I mean, it can of course create some friction, but we are aware about that, and that in the end, that it becomes something, really good.
Yeah, we work quite closely together, and as Johan mentioned, we often pitch ideas to each other.
But so that brings me to the question about the products that you guys have. I mean, I would consider you guys super brave, to be honest, to go into such a tough market. And we're talking about watches, like these ones. How and when did you sort of think about that you want to go into such a sort of tough market? How did that idea come to be, and how can you be so brave to do such a thing?
Yeah, it was a long process, I think. It wasn't obvious that we would start working with watches, actually. As mentioned, we discussed for many years creating our own brand, and we discussed a lot of different types of products. We were talking about cycling related products. We were talking about quite a wide range of products, I think. Eventually, I was about to buy a watch for myself, and that's basically when we started thinking about watches and the watch market. Start to think, okay, what could we do within this field? What can we add to the watch market, basically? Both me and Johan have a big passion for menswear fashion and being industrial designers. Watches is kind of a mix of fashion and industrial design. Something you wear on your body, but still it's like hardware, or it's so it's a kind of interesting mix, I think, between our fields of interest, basically.
Yeah, and also I mean, back then it was not common with a lot of micro brands. I mean, it was before Daniel Wellington started, for instance, so it was really unusual with small brands challenging the big ones. So we thought also, like the big brands, they were really conservative in terms of design and also how they communicate. It's like typical feminine watches for girls, and really masculine, like fighter aircrafts for guys, which we thought felt kind of silly and old-fashioned. And we thought also that of course the prices for the watches you really wanted were really above your wallet. And the third thing was that we saw the lack of a design focus on the brands. You couldn't see from which brand the watches were by just looking at the design. So we saw that there were like a clear field that we could contribute with and add something to the market. So that is how the idea of starting a watch company started. And that, I mean, that was probably like 15 years ago. And then
exactly
2011 we registered like the
brand and the company, and then a couple of years more until we launched the first watch collection, basically. It was
when was that? When was the first watch sort of hit the market for the consumers to buy?
2013. So
wow,
it's 10 years ago now. So we've been doing it for a while, actually. But of course, a lot has happened during this journey since the launch of the first model, which we will talk more about eventually here. So a lot has happened, and the brand has evolved quite a lot since then.
Yeah. And talking about brand, part of brand is name, right? And you have a little bit of a clever name. So tell me about the story about the name of the company and the brand.
Yeah, I mean, in Sweden, people are familiar with the name Bravur. Actually, I know it exists in German. I know you partially live in Germany. Yeah, to macht etwas mit Bravur. So it means to conduct something with great skills or excellence. But the name in Swedish, the two last letters U and R, ur, also means like clock. actually, that was one reason why we were a bit hesitant to choose it, because it felt like kind of a, what do you say, like a
what is a kind of joke in Swedish. But eventually we wanted a name that had like a Swedish sound to it. We wanted to communicate our Swedish heritage and background. And creating the name was maybe one of the hardest part of the whole process, actually. But eventually we chose that name, and now it's you don't think about it after you have chosen the name, and we mainly sell abroad as well, mainly to the US, and then of course they don't. Then it's quite nice to have a story that the brand name contains the word for watch or clock. It's like there's a story within the brand name.
That's super cool. And how do they pronounce it, the Americans?
Bravur. So
nice.
Almost small extra touch.
Not totally way off.
No, exactly.
I would say, but I would say they more problematic is probably to tell the difference between Sweden and Switzerland.
Yeah, the biggest challenge. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, for sure.
And that's cool. I didn't know that the US was your biggest market, and that's very interesting. Why do you think that is?
It's been like that from the start, basically, and it was never our plan. Our plan was to start in Sweden and then try to make it abroad, basically. But at the launch, we got most interest from US-based media and so on. So we got most exposure there, basically, and it has continued like that from the start.
Yeah, we got a good kickstart in US, and we also were approached by a reseller back then, Barney's, which is quite high
department store.
So we sold there for a few years. So I think we managed to establish the brand better in US compared to Sweden. And I would say also a parameter is probably that the micro brand community in US is really strong compared to Europe in general. So they are arranging quite a few micro brand watch fairs, which we started to attend in quite early. So within the micro brand community, we got, I wouldn't say famous, but at least a few people know about us. So I think that is also part of why we have expanded in US, and I think we're selling between 70 to 75% also this year to US, and it's just great for us, and also considering the Swedish currency versus the US dollars is actually a benefit to be able to sell in the parts of the world which are not that affected by the economy at the moment.
I'm happy that you can benefit from that. From my personal point of view, it sucks right now traveling between Sweden and Germany with the Swedish currency.
It does,
but that brings me to my next question. Or I know last year, was it right, that you were actually, there's another American connection, right, with cycling and the sponsorship that you did with an American pro team.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was also completely blown away that you guys were working with them. So anyone that wants to sort of tell the story about how that came to be and which team it was?
We were also quite amazed by it. But you can give it.
Yeah, so we were a partner of the EF Education Easy Post professional cycling team last year, which they're obviously competing on world tour level. It was something we could hardly dream about, being a partner of a world tour team, but suddenly we ended up being one. So that was really cool. We had our brand on the buses and so on. It was really amazing, and all the riders got we made a special watch for the team, picking up their team colors and so on. So all the riders got a watch with their names engraved on the case back. And it was a really cool experience, and to be a small part of this the world tour. Basically, it was amazing.
But it opened up a lot of possibilities for us also after last year. I mean, we got in contact with a lot of other world tour riders through our participation and the travels visiting the big races. But yeah, I think the reason that we got the opportunity to work together with such a big team while we are really like a small brand was the fact that we are actually building all the watches in Sweden in the small town called Båstad. And the chairman of EF, he is having a summer house nearby, and he likes design. So he saw our watches and read that they were produced locally and really appreciated the design. So actually, he reached out to us, asked if we were interested in a collaboration with his small cycling team.
Wow, so it was proactive from them. That's super. I mean, EF has that Swedish connection, right? They used to be a Swedish company, so now American-based and American headquarters and everything. But yeah, still has that Swedish heritage. I didn't know. That's super, super cool.
Yeah, we thought first that the email we got was maybe like a scam or something. Education Easy was emailing us about this. Yeah, it was really cool actually. Yeah.
But you said you made a special version for them. But that segues me into sort of the assortment or the your lineup that you have today. Let's speak about that a little bit. What does it and how has it evolved from the beginning? I guess it wasn't sort of several pieces from the beginning, but
yeah. So I mean, basically, when we started the brand, we were not connected to cycling. I mean, we still had a huge cycling interest back then, but it was more like a general watch brand, so to speak, more lifestyle, fashion sort of brand. And we discussed for many years about how we could connect watches and cycling. But it wasn't until 2020, right, that we launched our first cycling collection, which is the Grand Tour Chronograph series. So that was our first step into the world of cycling, basically.
This Grand Tour Chronograph series, it is inspired by the three biggest cycling races in the world, the three Grand Tours, so Giro d'Italia, Tour de France, and Vuelta a España. So each of the watches, they pick up inspiration in terms of colors, patterns, and other like more subtle details that you can find in each of the races and then incorporated into the design. So, I mean, the idea is if you're a cycling nerd, then you should really appreciate and discover these small details. But if you are not into cycling, you should still be able to appreciate the design. So it's not obvious, I would say, that they are cycling inspired if you don't know about these small clues. And we have launched a new model every year of this series. So now we have 9 different watches in this collection. So this is the first step into the cycling niche, so to say.
What does the process look like when you come up with a new design and a new watch? Tell me. Let's talk about that for a moment. You briefly talked about it earlier that you were sort of ping-ponging ideas and stuff. But is there any more to it?
Yeah, first of all, it's usually a quite long process. It takes a lot of time. We work with the design and the ideas for quite a long time, back and forth. There are many sort of iterations, so to speak. We constantly work on making the design better and better. So it's a long process, which usually starts. I mean, we always start with a what do you say, like a conceptual idea or.
We try to pinpoint kind of a concept formulation, I would say, that frames the whole collection. So like for the Grand Tours, that they should be inspired by the 3 Grand Tours. So when we have this kind of concept defined, we also can create kind of a value hypothesis, including things like price points, what kind of watch, is it the chronograph, is it the three-hander, is it the diver's watch, which these two parameters in will really help us when we start working with the design, because it gives us kind of a clear guideline in which direction to go, and also we can like step out and look from outside, does this match with our concept formulation. So I think we evolved a way of creating clear concepts and story behind the collections in a good way in the last few years. I mean, that has really been like a process throughout the years, but we have really understood how important this is to have a clear story and concept that helps both us in the work, but also for like potential consumers to understand what it's all about, and also to remember the brand and the watches.
So I don't want I don't want this to sound like a fairy tale. Everything has been pixel perfect along this route. I guess you've been taking some detours, and there's been some frictions here and there, and especially coming back to what I talked about earlier, like challenging the big ones. But so talk to me about what is your learnings, what is your failures that you've had along this route now for the last 10 years or so. You want to share any?
I mean, if going chronological, I would say that the main difficulties in the start was really to find the right suppliers. We are like a small company having small volumes, but with high expectations and kind of special demands. So it was difficult to get attention, at least through the big suppliers, when we were asking for, we want 50 special dials which are super complicated to manufacture, and we don't want to pay a lot of money. So I think that was the first obstacle, and we have really worked with a lot of different suppliers, but in the last 5 years probably we have like a set of suppliers which both for packaging and the cases and dials, and as mentioned, we do all the assembling in Sweden. So we now have a really good set of suppliers and collaboration partners to work with. But that was at least the first difficulty.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, if we connected a little bit with our how the brand has evolved recently. At first, we didn't have like a niche, so to speak, and not a clear idea about the brand, maybe, and eventually we have turned the brand into the sport of cycling, which helps us a lot about when it comes to inspiration, and it helps us stand out among the competition, and I think that's a very important part as well for us, finding our niche and adding something unique to the watch market, basically, I would say.
And I would say also like a constant struggle, I guess, for all companies is to find a way to get presence and exposure, like in social media, everywhere basically. How to get that, because that's in the end it's how you drive sales, is to be visible, and if you don't have anything interesting to share and communicate, then you won't get any press around the world. So you constantly need to have that in mind when creating the products. Can have a nice story behind it, what is like the next thing to write a press release about. And I mean, for us, we cannot afford spending 100,000 euros in
advertising advertising and collaborations.
Exactly. So we need.
But let's take a little detour there, because that's an interesting point. I mean, I was also super impressed when I listened to one of my favorite podcasts, which is the cycling podcast. And I heard that Lionel Berner was starting to talk about you guys, and I was like, wow, this is super cool, because that's huge. So talk to me a little bit. What is the strategy there? I know that you're working with ambassadors. You went to Ruler Live, which I would be more than happy to go to myself as well at some point in the future. So what is your strategy there around sort of marketing and getting your voice heard in this media bus there is?
Yeah, I mean, as mentioned, we don't have like a enormous budget to spend, so we need to spend the money really wisely and think through before we spend it. So, for instance, with the podcast, we think both that it targets our audience, and the show is of course really great, but also the fact that we should participate at the Roller, which was good, and to have the podcast just before the ruler, so that people would be aware that we were going to exhibit there. And I think that worked out really well. Actually, a lot of people that came to our booth, they had heard about us in the podcast, and this was like a reminder. Oh, that's the watch guys, and then they had to look at the products, and now they probably remember us in the future. So
so we learn a lot about. I mean, we try to get visibility within the world of cycling, of course, but then also within the watch world. So we have like two areas that we, or two target groups that we try to communicate to, and pretty often they meet as well. A lot of cyclists are watch interested as well. So I think it's a good fit, actually. But of course, as mentioned before, it's a constant struggle and challenge to be seen and reach new audience. Basically, it's super hard.
So should we do a little bit of name dropping here? Who's your ambassadors and guys that you have on your roster?
Yeah, so we're currently working with Lawrence Nassen, who's riding for Adieu Dessert Citroën. We have Kevin Janietz riding for FDJ. Alex Kirsch, who is the Luxembourg champion both on the road and time trial.
Jonas Gregard, riding this year. He rode for Unix. It will be another team next year. Exactly. So there are some examples of our ambassadors, and it's pretty cool actually. I mean, we don't have any demands that they need to wear the watches while they are cycling or racing, but from time to time they are actually wearing it in the races, which is super cool for us to see in front of the TV. Oh, he's having the Grand Tour on his wrist. That's I mean, it doesn't have like a functional benefit. It's just about adding style. So it's really, really, really nice when that happens.
Yeah, and you see more and more riders actually wearing watches nowadays. So it feels like it's a growing trend. I mean, a lot of cyclists are quite style concerned and want to look good on the bike. So we think that a watch is definitely a nice accessory to wear while riding.
So what's your plan for the future now? What's coming? Like short term, long term? What's the vision? Where are you guys heading?
So product wise, we have a very exciting launch at the beginning of next year, April, I think,
during the Spring Classics.
Yeah. So it's a brand new. I mean, as mentioned, we have the Grand Tour series, which was our first cycling collection. And now we are launching a brand new series called Team Heritage, which is our second cycling collection. So it's basically picking up inspiration from iconic cycling teams from the past. So we are launching 3 teams, so to speak, at the beginning.
Yeah, and this watch it will be kind of really different, I would say, in terms of the like visual aesthetics compared to the Grand Tours. A bit more retro inspired in a way, but still, we don't want to do really strong retro look, so it's still contemporary, but it's inspired by vintage teams, obviously. So like color schemes and patterns are picked up from there. It will also have another price point, so lower price point basically. And we are, I mean, that's a good example of how we can work with a clear concept. Now, when we have decided to work with classic cycling teams, that's almost like an endless source of inspiration for us to find new designs and to evolve this collection. And also, I mean, it would be really great to work with some past riders.
Yeah.
As ambassadors. So that is, we're really looking forward to that. And I would say this is really our best and most well thought through collection by date, like the whole package with how we deliver it and everything. And
yeah, we actually bought a car recently as well that fits within this concept.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a Volvo from 1973, right?
Yeah, 145.
Yes, it's an old classic,
Nice.
yeah. And the idea is to turn it into a Bravur team, team car, basically. So eventually we will share some pictures of it once we get closer to the launch or after the launch.
Yeah,
it's going to be really cool, I think.
It's currently in the workshop. We plan to do like quite long trips down to Europe with the car, and it was not super pleasant to drive in at the moment. But hopefully we will meet. You can see us down in Belgium, for instance, during the spring.
Exactly.
That's the plan, at least.
Yeah, that's the plan.
And you're bringing the bikes, of course, right?
Yes, absolutely.
For sure.
That's the advantage, having a big Volvo.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of spare wheels as well.
Yeah.
So that brings me to we have to talk about where to find your content and where we can find the watches, of course. So tell me where and how and which channels do we find the watches and your astonishing content that you create as well. I mean, I've been so, I don't want to say jealous, but envious of watching when you went to the Grand Tours and you've been sort of in the team buses and meeting all the riders and stuff. So I think there would be more people that would be interested in that. So please tell me.
I would say the best way is probably to follow us on Instagram, Bravur Watches, and of course visit our webpage. If you want to have a look at the watches, we are selling online, so you have the possibility to order your watch, and you can ship it back for free if you for some reason would not be happy with it. And I mean, we have a strong reason for not selling through classical or traditional retailers, and the main point is the price. I would say that we are free to set out totally our own price levels and to really be able to afford.
Yeah, we get a lot of. I mean, we can offer a much better value for money, basically, when selling online directly. It's really hard to achieve a competitive price point through retailers. So that's the idea, as many other brands do as well, of course. And
business to consumer makes total sense.
Yeah, it does. And we ship worldwide, so we it's an amazing thing to be able to do nowadays. It's really great.
But I think you forgot to mention there's another Instagram account that's might be even more cycling related, right?
Well, yeah, we have an account called Bravur Cycling, where we post pictures from more personal rides at the moment. But if you're more into cycling rather than watches, I think you would enjoy following that one as well.
Last but not least, what kind of sort of inspiring tips or recommendations can you give to other people that are thinking about doing something similar to you guys? Maybe not creating watches, so watch out for the Bravur guys. You need to do another niche. But what has helped to fulfill this maybe potential dream of yours to do this? And is there anything that you can mention for the audience?
I would say that the most important thing is to do something which you're really passionate about, because first of all, it makes your work so much more fun and enjoyable. And second, people like potential consumers, they will notice that you're really passionate about what you're doing and your products, and if you're meeting them, it will really be perceived also by the audience. So I would say that is really the key point to succeed and to be passionate and really enjoy what you're doing.
The idea or the concept behind, I mean, to have a unique concept basically actually adds something to whatever area you're targeting is quite important. You're just not just only doing the same as everyone else. but to actually have your own unique idea. It doesn't have to be like a what do you say? It doesn't have to change the world, but just to find something that you actually are unique about, and which adds something unique to the market. I think that's very, very important as well.
Yeah, and of course to be persistent. If you really believe in your idea, it takes time. You have to learn a lot of things. For us, we were, as mentioned, really product focused. We were not PR guys, sales guys, so we needed to learn a bit about that before we were able to actually sell the watches. So yeah, be persistent if you really believe in your idea, and people will discover it if you're really into it and passionate about it. I would say that are probably the key takeaways.
Fantastic advice. Thank you very much for guys for sharing. So usually last bit that I end off these shows, I don't know if you've seen it, but I asked the question if you have a question for me.
Oh, that's a hard one. You got us there.
Yeah. Which is your favorite Bravur watch?
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I need to Google it. Bravur watches.
Exactly.
I've seen them all, but it is. I mean, maybe it is a bias just towards the race, of course, but it has to be the Tour de France one. There's no doubt. But I think it just has to do with the biases that I have towards that. That is the race that is the most fun to watch, the most intriguing race. Has the biggest guys there from all different disciplines, sprinters, GC guys, and so forth. It's the best. So also kind of like the color scheme as well. So that's my favorite.
Interesting. I mean, I would say the La Corsa Rosa, which is the Giro d'Italia version, has been our bestseller. Also, the Tour de France is popular, but actually, a lot of people really appreciate the pink details. We weren't sure when we were about to launch the collection. We thought, okay, well, people like pink watches. It's not all pink, but there are still pink accents. But yeah, I think that's pretty unique. It's not that common with watches with pink accents. So that's that has been our bestseller. But the Tour de France one is also very appreciated.
Thank you, Magnus. Thank you, Johan, for spending the time with me. And this has been a pleasure. I learned a bunch of things. So thank you very much, and have a nice weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for having us. Ciao.
Let me know what you thought about this interview in the comments below. And be sure to hit that subscribe button and like in order to see more content like this. Hope to see you next time. Until then, bye-bye.